Hello and welcome to this video guide for Troubles in Grayce, an adventure anthology for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. In this first of two videos, I will provide you with a short summary of the town of Grayce and how to get your PCs started in this interesting village. After that, I will go into a general overview of the first three adventures contained within this bundle: the Path River Peeler, Sabotage, and They Hunger Below. For each adventure, I will also share tips on how to prep and run them. This video should provide GMs interested in running these adventures with an idea of what they contain and if they are the right choice for your group. Needless to say, this video is filled to the brim with spoilers. If you are playing in one of these adventures or expect to play in one soon, stop this video right now. Without further ado, let's dive into the first three tales of Troubles in Grayce. Located in the Caliphus County on the southern border of Ustalav, Grayce is a small town with a long history. Followers of various deities were drawn to this site long ago, and over the centuries, these communities established a town in which people of various beliefs could peacefully coexist. The small town was largely left alone by the world's events until the rise of Tar-Befon. Under the rule of the Whispering Tyrant, the people of Grayce took their worship underground, hiding in the caverns beneath the town to avoid punishment from the minions of Tar-Befon. After the Shining Crusade defeated Tar-Befon and liberated Ustalav, Grayce once again knew a period of peace and prosperity. Unfortunately, in 4719 AR, the Whispering Tyrant returned. The people of Grayce did what they could to withstand the undead threat, and even took in hundreds of refugees seeking shelter from the war. After the final defeat of Tar-Befon, many of these refugees chose to stay in Grayce, helping rebuild and expand the town. Today, Grayce still needs to be wary of the various undead and unholy creatures that prowl the land of Ustalav. However, the town has also become a place for trade and logistics, boasting 2 docks and a number of guilds that power the local industry. Every citizen of Grayce knows to not let down their guard, but they also feel like a bright future lies ahead of this small village. If you are planning to run adventures from this anthology, it is good to know which of the PCs are from Grayce or have roots in the region. PCs who are connected to Grayce could have ties to NPCs who make appearances in the adventures. For example, a PC who is from this town might have grown up together with Damaris, an antagonist in the adventure The Path River Peeler. Such a personal connection can change the tone of an adventure, allowing PCs to have more information and context than the adventure assumes. Personally, I do think that makes adventures more interesting, and I would advise to at least have some PCs with strong ties to this town. If you ran players through the Secrets of the Unlit Star, following it up with adventures from Trouble in Grayce fits perfectly, of course. Depending on where the PCs are from, their exploration of the Temple of the Unlit Star could have happened on their way to Grayce. Alternatively, someone from town might have sent them out to investigate the area where the temple resides. The adventure from Secrets of the Unlit Star has little direct ties to Trouble in Grayce, but there are some possible connections you could make. The fact that a Temple of Desna has been unearthed adds another religious side to the area, and could warrant the people of Grayce to further investigate the temple. The orrery at the top of the temple, now containing the Unlit Star, could be an artifact of great interest to people like Sankoval Durantine, the Pharasman priest in town, who might wonder if it could help to further repel undead forces from the nearby countryside. Most importantly, the adventure from Secrets of the Unlit Star establishes the PCs as highly competent adventurers, which explains why the townsfolk approach them if there is a problem to solve. Want to know if Secrets of the Unlit Star is a good adventure for you and your group? Then you should definitely check out my video about it. For generations, the people of Grayce have told stories of a cryptid known as the Path River Peeler. Many villagers know someone who has seen the creature, but no one has ever seen it themselves. The various stories attribute the wildest traits to the Peeler, but the one thing all tales have in common is that the presence of the Path River Peeler is a bad omen, and whenever it appears in the vicinity of Grayce, death follows in its wake. The heroes become involved in this adventure after being approached by the rancher Alban Durkensor. Alban reports that his ranch hand Euphis has seen the Path River Peeler as it descended on Alban's flock of sheep in the middle of the night. Alban believes the appearance of the Peeler might be linked to other misfortune happening across town, and he asks the adventurers to investigate. During their investigations, the heroes hear a variety of stories about the Peeler from the local townsfolk, which are not exactly helpful, but also meet a few people who help them track down the creature. Jarrell Quain, a local ranger, believes that the Peeler is not entirely mythical in nature and decides to help the adventurers find a good location in the nearby wilderness to stake out for the Peeler. Damaris, a changeling who is disliked by many in Grayce, claims to have seen the Peeler and knows what it can do. She shares some insights, but makes it clear she believes that the people of Grayce deserve whatever ill fate the creature will visit upon them. Finally, investigating Alban's ranch and interviewing the ranch hand Euphis, the heroes learn more about the Peeler's appearance and its potential weakness to loud noises. As the heroes rest up on Alban's farm and put together clues, a grisly warning is delivered to them by a local youth, who seems to have been hired by Damaris to bring the bloody message as a warning. When the adventurers go to Damaris' cottage to confront her, the changeling is no longer there. Following Jarrell's information on where to best wait for the Peeler, the heroes head out to the Shivering Bluffs. After sunset, they hear an unnerving cackle and see a strange creature in the darkness. Chasing down the entity, it is revealed to be Jarrell's sister, Farah, disguised as the Peeler. Farah, who would have loved to join the heroes in their investigation, but was forbidden to do so by her older sister, decided to instead pull a prank on the investigators. There is not much time to deal with Farah, however, as a horrifying, otherworldly sound emanates from the nearby caverns known as Hag Hollow. Here, the heroes find out that Damaris has been coming to Hag Hollow ever since she heard the voices of a coven of hags speaking to her within the cave. Deep within, she found a rift leading to the Netherworld, from which she believes the voices of the hags originate. The rift is not wide enough, but the changeling learned that once every generation, the Peeler steps through it to enter the universe. After spreading fear and death for a while, the Peeler returns and the rift widens, allowing it to return to the Netherworld. Damaris has been waiting patiently for this appearance of the cryptid. Once he returns to the rift, she plans to step through with him and find the hags that have been instilling their wisdom upon her. The heroes have to face off against Damaris, a tribe of kobolds that have come to revere the Peeler, and other dangers within Hag Hollow. Eventually, as they make it to the Netherworld Rift, they will have to defeat the Path River Peeler while also closing the rift, making sure the creature cannot return, and whatever lies beyond the tear can no longer reach out into the universe. Hunting a cryptid is a really cool premise in my opinion, and overall, I think that the Path River Peeler is a very fun adventure. It allows you to introduce quite a few of the villagers to the PCs as they gather information. You should have fun providing the players with wild and contradictory rumors, as those are part of every good cryptid hunt. However, be careful to still provide enough chances for the PCs to learn some actual facts about the Peeler. The ranch hand Euphis provides essential information, including hints towards the Peeler's sensitive ears. Check in regularly with the players to see what they consider is true about the Peeler and what they discard as the product of the townsfolk's imagination. The way the adventure presents Damaris clearly paints her as the villain of this story. We learn that the people of Grayce always disliked her, and that gave Damaris ample reason to feel no love for them in return. She needs the Peeler to survive so she can follow it when it returns through the open Netherworld Rift. As such, Damaris tries to scare off the PCs by sending them a rather grisly warning. I think that even before that event, players will figure out that Damaris is somehow linked to the Peeler and might press her for more information. Damaris can provide quite some info, but she too does not know everything about the Peeler. If the PCs try to fight her earlier in the adventure, try to have her escape towards Hag Hollow. This could lead into a chase towards the caves, for which you could repurpose the chase from Event 2, which is originally intended to simulate the PCs chasing Farah. If the PCs confront Damaris immediately like this will make the adventure quite a bit shorter, removing the visit to Alban's ranch and chasing Farah. The adventure mentions early on a sinkhole that has opened up in town and how it could foreshadow later adventures in this anthology. Be careful to not present this as a red herring, as the sinkhole is of no importance to this adventure. If you are planning to run the adventure's Sabotage or They Hunger Below, the sinkhole presents some nice foreshadowing for those. The coven of hags that resided in Hag Hollow long ago, their voices now speaking to Damaris, are a plot hook you could weave into other adventures. The book mentions that the sweet hag Larmine from the Sweet Tooth adventure might have been drawn to the area due to stories about the old coven, but you could also use this as a hook for your own stories. Perhaps once the PCs have dealt with Damaris, the voices become interested in one of them. What could those voices want? Are they perhaps locked away in the netherworld and use the peeler as part of some long, generation-spanning ritual to slowly find their way back to the universe? If so, might they now offer a PC strange powers in exchange for their service to still complete this ritual? Are these voices perhaps not those of the hags at all, but some other phenomenon? Well, it's up to you. Father Wren, owner of Grayce's printing press and the editor-in-chief of the Grayce Gazette, has been dealing with many technical difficulties lately. His machines are tampered with, tools get misplaced, and the latest edition of the Grayce Gazette is filled with typos and printing errors. Even worse, other people around Grayce who work with machines have experienced similar problems. Father Wren does not know who is behind this scheme, but it has to be resolved sooner rather than later. He recruits the heroes to aid him in this task. The adventurers speak with the other people around town who have been the victim of these mishaps, including the eccentric Otto Vonnier, who believes all machines have a soul, and the junkmonger Krenvis Sang, who is not above selling malfunctioning items to the heroes. After having gathered enough evidence, it becomes clear that gremlins must be behind these occurrences. They delight in random bits of sabotage, and it seems some of them have reasons to take revenge on the people of Grayce. Also, it looks like these gremlins have been stealing tools and supplies from all the locations they have caused mischief at, apparently gathering resources for their own machine. The heroes report their findings to Father Wren and plan a stakeout to catch the gremlins red-handed during their next attempt at shenanigans. During the stakeout, the adventurers surprise a group of midflits led by a Pugwampy and defeat the gremlins before they cause more harm. After interrogating them, the heroes learn the location of the gremlin hideout, where they will also find their leader Deco, who is hell-bent on having his revenge on the town. Fighting their way through a trap-riddled set of caves and more gremlins, the heroes eventually confront Deco and the Dig Beast, a massive, cursed machine the gremlin has assembled. Deco reveals that his plan is to dig tunnels underneath the town, eventually causing it to collapse. The reason for this drastic act of vengeance? Well, it turns out that earlier, Deco had spread clockwork devices with a timer all over town. These devices were designed to go off together, each of them malfunctioning in a spectacular way to create chaos all throughout Grayce. However, the junkmonger Krenvis Sang found them before they went off and was intrigued by their mechanisms. He collected them all and took them to his workshop to disassemble. For denying him his chance at sowing chaos, Deco has deemed that all of Grayce must fall into the depth below. Of course, the heroes stop Deco and his terrifying machine, preventing Grayce from sinking beneath the ground and making sure all machinery can work without any more tech gremlins meddling with it. This adventure is a bit more comedic than the other adventures in this anthology. Deco and his gremlins are causing a lot of mischief in Grayce, but unless the PCs allow Deco and his Digbees to actually cause the town to sink into the ground, there is no deadly harm done to anyone. Deco's motivation is also very silly, and I think all of this lends this adventure to a more comedic/satirical bent. Further supporting the silly nature of this adventure are the major NPCs. Many of the characters the PCs engage with feel like caricatures. Chief among them are Marif Sonal from the Grayce Toll House and Otto Vonnier at the Chapel Bridge. Marif is a conspiracy theorist, believing that all the mishaps can be led back to a secret cabal of townsfolk who want to stop the advance of technology in Grayce. The adventure describes that when the PCs meet her for the first time, she has reams of papers on her desk with the names of people she suspects of being members of this conspiracy. You might as well turn that into a conspiracy board a la It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, in case the players need any further hint towards her main character trait. Otto Vanir is the caretaker of the chapel and drawbridge, and he's convinced all machines operate by trapping the spirits of the dead inside of them. He even named the spirit of the drawbridge and wants to take good care of it. I don't think Otto's beliefs feel weird in a fantasy world such as Golarion, but the adventure makes it clear he is considered somewhat of a weirdo for his faith in the machine spirits. If you have fans of Warhammer 40k among your players, you might as well give Otto red robes and have him speak of the Omnissiah to ham it up even more. The way the investigation is structured in this adventure is not via victory points, which I consider a good choice. Instead, after every location the PCs investigate, they can make a roll to deduce the identity of the saboteur and a roll to deduce their motivation. The DC for these rolls starts out at 23, but is lowered with every location they investigate. The PCs automatically deduce the identity and motivation of the saboteur after the fourth and final location. If your players roll really well, there's a chance the investigation is over rather fast, which could mean they won't meet all of the NPCs. This could mean that they never interact with Krenvas, who is the whole reason Deco is trying to destroy Grayce. If you want to make sure your players aren't confused when the gremlin reveals his motivations, you could have Father Wren suggest that the PCs start the investigation by talking to Krenvas. Wren might consider this a wise move because the inventor knows a lot about machines and why they could malfunction. When a massive sinkhole opens in the town square of Grayce, the heroes are recruited by the knight-turned-innkeeper Jakivi Rindix to help investigate the cause of it and save the engineer Ekaterina Tashe, who went down to find out the cause of the sinkhole, but who has not yet returned. Descending into the darkness below, the heroes find a series of caves that the people of Grayce once used as a refuge. In the days of Tarbafon's reign, villagers found sanctuary here, but these caverns have not been used in a long time. As the adventurers further investigate, dealing with gremlins and insects, they learn that these caves hold more history than they thought, and more danger. Beyond the caverns, an old mausoleum rests, which has become the home to a clan of ghouls. These ghouls, led by the terrifying Elendrio, chased a pack of gauntlings into these halls. The mausoleum gave these undead more than they expected. Not only is it a great home from which it can scavenge and seek flesh to devour, but it was filled with treasures from the people buried here. The heroes will learn that during a clash between the ghouls and the gauntlings, some of the old pillars and shoring that stabilized the caves collapsed, causing the massive sinkhole that initiated this entire adventure. The ghouls also took Ekaterina captive, and Elendrio plans to force her to teach them all about engineering before she is devoured. The Orc Ghoul hopes this knowledge will allow his people to further fortify their new home, from which they can strike at the people of Grayce. The heroes fight the ghouls, maybe even allying with some of them to bring down Elendrio and rescue Ekaterina. Once they return safely to Grayce, the townsfolk, Ekaterina, and the heroes can join forces to restore the mausoleum, reinforce the pillars and shoring of the caves, and make sure that no new threats arise from beneath the town. They Hunger Below is basically a little dungeon crawl through the old tunnels and a mausoleum beneath Grayce. The initial plot hook is pretty interesting, as a massive sinkhole in the middle of town is hard to ignore. If you have run other adventures from this anthology, the PCs might have already heard of this sinkhole, and now it's their chance to descend. While this adventure is mostly a dungeon crawl with lots of combat and traps, the struggle between the ghouls and gauntlings is something the PCs can exploit. The gauntlings are mindless beasts who cannot be bargained with, but the ghouls are open to diplomacy. The bugbear ghoul Krethark used to be the leader of this undead family, but has recently lost his leadership position to Elendrio. Caraxilia is another ghoul in this dungeon who would rather see Elendrio gone, so the PCs have ample chances to deal with the ghoul leader and free Ekaterina by gaining the support of some of the other undead. Of course, depending on the characters in your party, allying with undead creatures might cause some conflict between the PCs, but if your table is up for that, it could lead to some fun role-playing moments. This adventure includes an encounter with some Pugwampi. If you ran sabotage before this adventure, these Pugwampi might be gremlins who used to work for Deco, recognizing the PCs as the ones who dismantled his operation. If you have not yet run sabotage but plan to do so, the Pugwampi could be a group of scouts sent out by Deco, pointing the PCs to the presence of gremlins within Grayce. Relef Werson's last word stone holds a tragic final memory, one that Jakivi would like to see returned. If any of the PCs are from Grayce, they might be related to the Wersons, or know of his children that are now taken care of by Jakivi. The memory contained in this stone deserves an emotional scene, and provides some gravitas to this adventure. I do like that this adventure includes rules on how to restore the mausoleum as a downtime activity. Allowing the PCs to make permanent changes to Grayce makes it feel more like a home for the characters. I think this downtime activity makes They Hunger Below suitable to be one of the first adventures to be run from this anthology, as the PCs then have time between their next adventures to slowly restore the ruins beneath the town. One room I want to highlight is A3. This room is filled with a high amount of traps, which could easily set each other off. If the PCs are not careful, they are caught in an avalanche of contraptions unleashing their deadly payloads. As painful as that could be for them, the mental image of the PCs weaving their way through a barrage of traps is hilarious to me. Enjoy the chance of running an initiative order that contains no monsters, but a set of 4 different traps the PCs set off in an unfortunate chain reaction. And that's it for the first 3 adventures from Troubles in Grayce. Are you looking forward to run any of these, or have you run them at your table? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, take care, and bye-bye.